There's a very strange moment, and if you've ever lived through it, you'll recognize it instantly. You're in a room. The light is low. Everything is silent, like the world is holding its breath. And then out of the corner of your eye, you see movement, so slight, like a ribbon of smoke sliding through empty air. You turn your head. Nothing. You squint. You scold yourself. I must be exhausted. But deep down, there's a part of you that doesn't accept that explanation. Because what you felt wasn't imagination. It felt like someone was there, and then pulled back the moment you looked directly. If you've experienced this, you're not alone. And tonight, we're going to talk about something that, in Gnostic tradition, was never meant to reach the public. A technique so simple, it feels suspicious, designed to expand how your eyes perceive. Not spiritual sight in meditation, but the way you see with your eyes open. In ordinary reality, I'm not asking you to believe instantly. I only want you to listen the way you listen to a story, because some stories don't come to convince. They come to wake up a memory, and if your chest just tightened for a second, then maybe, just maybe, you've known this before. In a long-forgotten text, often referred to as the Gospel of Mary among Gnostic collections, there's a scene that isn't fairy tale. No public miracles, no crowds, no sermon on a hillside, just an upper room. Oil lamps, smoke in the air, and the closest circle gathered together. Mary describes a vision. She rises through 7 levels, 7 gates, 7 regions, the everyday world can't see. At each gate, something tries to stop her, and it doesn't strike her with a sword. It does something more terrifying. It makes her doubt herself. When Mary finishes, one disciple asks a brutally honest question. How did you see them? How did you know they were there? And Mary answers with an idea that would terrify any power structure. We were taught how to open the eyes that see beyond habit, not seeing in dreams, not seeing in trance, but seeing awake, eyes open, in ordinary life, because if something is influencing you, provoking fear, triggering sabotage, feeding off your collapse, it won't wait until your meditation is over. It acts while you live. In the Gnostic language, those forces are often called Archons, rulers, not always horned demons, but sometimes described as mechanisms, frequencies, patterns that survive on human unconsciousness. You can take Archons literally as entities near the edge of human perception, or you can take them symbolically as the invisible hooks inside the psyche that keep you repeating the same self-destruction. Either way, the key point is the same. Their greatest advantage isn't power, it's invisibility. Because the invisible can do what the visible cannot. It can convince you that every impulse is yours. The sudden fear, the thought, you're not enough. The panic, right before a breakthrough. The sabotage right when you're about to rise. You assume it's you, but if you ever see it even once, you stop being gaslit by your own mind. You stop being steered by what you can't name. And that's why, in the buried stories, the skill of seeing was treated as too dangerous for the masses. Now we go deeper, because if you don't understand why invisibility is required, you won't understand why this method is so simple. You've heard the science. The human eye sees only a narrow band of light. If reality is an ocean, your eyes perceive a single glass of water. Beyond that glass, countless things still exist, yet get labeled not real because you can't see them. Gnostic accounts describe Archons as operating right beside our perceptual range, close enough to interact with you, but offset just enough that you never catch them. Do you know what's truly terrifying? Not being attacked, but being attacked. And then being convinced that nothing attacked you at all, because then you blame yourself. You think you're weak. You carry all the shame for invisible fear, and you begin searching for an external rescuer: rituals, authorities, intermediaries, systems. That's how the loop closes. In Gnostic myth, the Demiurge is the architect of the material prison, an intelligence lower than the true source, yet pretending to be supreme. And Archons are the administrators of that prison. No iron chains, only chains of perception. Lock perception, and humans imprison themselves. So how do you break the lock? Not through war, through the gaze, because the moment you see the game loses its hold. The moment you see the hand on the controls, you stop calling it your natural thought. But there's a problem. Human instinct says, if you want to see something, focus harder. If you want to catch something, lock in. And that's the trap. If something survives by remaining unseen, it will slip away from your direct focus. It will hide where you aren't paying attention. It will live inside what the brain labels visual noise. So tonight's technique is not hard staring. It's soft seeing. There's a way you used to look when you were a child. Staring at the sky without choosing a cloud, watching the sea without counting waves, standing in a room and sensing the whole instead of pinning a single point. That way of seeing has a simple name: soft gaze. And this is where people laugh. That's it? That reaction is exactly why this method is feared. Because the most dangerous thing to a control system is often what's easiest. Easy means anyone can do it. If anyone can do it, no one can monopolize it. Before we begin, do one small thing right now. Pick any point in front of you and look at it. Hold your eyes there, and without moving your gaze, begin to notice what exists at the edges. The doorway, the wall corner, the shadows, the flicker of the room. Do you feel it? You're using 2 layers of vision: center and periphery. And here's the strange part. Peripheral vision is more sensitive to motion and subtle changes than central vision. You've always known when something moved at the edge, even if you couldn't name it. Many traditions say the gap between peripheral and central perception is the doorway, not into fantasy, into the part of reality your nervous system routinely deletes. You don't have to create anything. You only have to stop erasing what has always been there. Now we go into the ritual, though I call it that for style. In truth, this is a perception training. Prepare the space. Choose a room with dim light, not pitch black, not bright. Dim light creates contrast without locking your vision into detail. Turn off screens. Don't stare at text. You need a neutral field, a wall, an empty space, a corner without patterns. Sit with your spine upright, not tense. If possible, place both feet on the floor. Pause 1. Before you begin, inhale slowly, exhale slowly. Again, on the exhale, imagine you're becoming lighter, as if you're removing a heavy coat you didn't realize you were wearing. Now begin. Step 1. Release focus. You don't stare. You let your eyes go slightly unfocused, like looking through glass instead of its scratches on the surface. You still see everything, but nothing is pinned. Step 2. Widen the field. Feel the entire scene as a single canvas. You are not hunting. You are present. Step 3. Register with the periphery. In the first few minutes, you may notice ordinary things: dust, light shifts, shadows. Don't label. Don't conclude. Just register. The most important rule: when you sense something, do not snap your eyes directly toward it. That reflex triggers the old filter, and the perception gets erased. Hold soft gaze. Let the phenomenon remain in the periphery like a wild animal testing whether you'll chase it. You don't chase. You stay calm. And this is where most people quit, because the brain starts whispering, "There's nothing." Your eyes are tired. You're imagining it. Remember, the filter exists to protect the old story. Change perception, and the story collapses. What collapses will be dragged back into place. So don't argue with the voice. Just say, "Okay, stay there." Then return to observation. When you hold soft gaze long enough, around 10 minutes, something tends to happen. You begin to notice movement without an object. Not the curtain, not a door, but a region like heat distortion, or a thin thread of dark smoke sliding across space, or a point of darkness, deeper than shadow, that sits still until your awareness touches it, then it withdraws. You'll want to ask, "What is that?" I won't force a name. In occult language, it's an archon. In psychological language, it might be the unconscious becoming visible through perception. But the key is this: if what you perceive responds to your attention, if it retreats, shifts, recoils as if it has intent, then the experience differs from pure imagination. Imagination rarely produces independent feedback. But the thing that unsettles you because it behaves, that's when you've touched a different layer. Pause. 2. If you're listening at night, stop for a breath. Listen to the room and ask yourself, how many things do I call real only because I'm trained to see them? Don't answer yet. Let it hang. Now the question everyone asks, if I see it, what do I do? In every old tradition, panic is the danger. Panic creates exactly the low-frequency chaos that feeds interference. So your first response isn't banishment, it's stability. Keep soft gaze. Don't label it evil or holy. Simply confirm, "I see." Then speak softly, like speaking to your own system. "I am aware." That single sentence flips the power dynamic, because awareness is starvation for what feeds on unconsciousness. The more present you are, the weaker it becomes. If you want a second phrase, symbolic, powerful use, there is no room for darkness inside my attention. No shouting, no theatrics, just certainty. And now, the climax. Many practitioners describe a moment sometimes within days, sometimes on the first night. You notice a dark region in a corner. It's there. It feels like it's watching. You don't turn away. You don't run. You don't beg. You keep soft gaze, and then you see something strange. It contracts. Not because you used magic, but because you did the one thing it hates most. You exposed the game with your eyes. That's why invisibility is their weapon, and why seeing is already a form of undoing. You don't need a long war against what is revealed. Like a thief, powerful when you sleep. When the lights turn on, it must retreat. But I have to be clear. In practice, many phenomena can occur, and not everything is an archon. Eye strain can create artifacts. Light can flicker. The mind can fill gaps. So the secret isn't instant belief. It's observation over time. Track patterns. When does it appear? What emotion preceded it? Does it respond repeatedly? Is it anchored in one corner? When the pattern repeats, your brain's filter changes. That's why people say 7 days. Because the nervous system must learn. This isn't random noise. It has a signature. When it accepts the signature, it stops deleting it. And then seeing isn't a flash anymore. It becomes a capacity. Pause 3. Stop for one breath. If you've ever felt your life pulled by thoughts that don't feel like yours, let this sentence settle. Maybe I don't need to fix myself. Maybe I only need to see more clearly. Now there's a consequence most people don't warn you about. Once you start seeing, you won't only see at home. you may begin noticing in places with heavy emotional density. Hospitals, churches, government buildings, anywhere fear, pleading, guilt, despair concentrate. You may perceive clusters, dark clouds around crowds. And you might realize some systems don't only manage people through rules. They manage through emotional frequency. Perhaps what old language calls Archon is an ancient name for forces that survive on human loss of inner sovereignty. Listen carefully. You are not prey if you are present. You are not food if you can see. And here's the smallest, strongest secret in the entire story. You don't need 10 new rituals. You need 3 commitments. Soft gaze daily. No panic when the unfamiliar appears. Pattern tracking instead of rushed conclusions. If you hold those 3, you'll notice something. Your negative emotions change quality. Before, a wave that swallows you. After, information. Something is trying to hook me. And when emotion becomes information, it stops feeding anything. It returns to you. You return to the wheel. Final climax. Imagine a night when you're exhausted. You fought with someone. You feel hopeless. And in that moment, you perceive a dark distortion moving closer, as if it waited for your frequency to drop. You realize not every collapse is natural. Not every thought is yours. But unlike before, you don't panic. You sit upright. You soften the gaze. You watch. And you say, slowly, I see, I know, I do not consent. If there is such a thing as spiritual power, it isn't secret words. It is refusing to be controlled in the dark. You may sense a shift in the air, like the hook just missed. You cut the food line. Now, before we end, I want to leave you with a promise that pushes you forward without making you dependent on me. Tonight, or whenever you listen, do 10 minutes. Only 10. Dim light. No screens. Soft gaze. Wide field. Register patterns. If you see nothing, it's fine. You're training the filter. If you see flashes, don't chase. If you see clearly and it responds, stay calm, log it, that's all. And if you feel intense anxiety, insomnia, or prolonged fear, stop, turn on bright lights, drink water, breathe, and prioritize mental stability. No experience is worth your well-being. Hook for the next episode. But this is only the beginning, because seeing is step 1. Once you can see, you'll start noticing anchor points. Why that corner? Why the doorway? Why certain thresholds feel heavy? Why certain spaces hold a presence? And here's the question people fear most. If Archons exist as mechanisms or entities, then who installed the filter in the human nervous system in the first place? And how is that filter reinforced in modern life? Next time, I'll tell you about the 3 anchor points old traditions say Archons use to stabilize presence in a home. 1 in the dark corner, 1 at the threshold, and the most disturbing one, in the place you look at your own face every day. If you want to continue, make a small vow to yourself. 7 days, 10 minutes a day, soft gaze. And before you sleep, speak 1 sentence not to summon anything, but to stop erasing what has always been present. Tonight, I learned to see clearly.